Hey everybody, welcome back to Earthly Headlines. I've got a great headline today. It has to do with the border of Southeast Finland and northwestern Russia. This is a great example of cutting-edge discoveries and collaboration between scientists from different countries, and it's really beautiful actually to see the cooperation between these groups as they discover all kinds of new stuff previously undiscovered in the lakes of Finland. This is a public release from the University of Helsinki, and the title reads, Archaeologists found traces of submerged Stone Age settlement in southeast Finland. You can see the image here, Satu Koivisto, that's like the head, that's the head scientist in charge of the research. You can see them going through some of the material. Let's just jump right into this. Also, as a disclaimer, there's a lot of Finnish words that I can't really pronounce very well, but luckily I have Google Maps. I can give you guys a nice visual of where everything is. It starts off, let's just start combing through this. The prehistoric settlement submerged under Lake Kuolimojarvi provides us with a clearer picture of the human occupation in South Karelia during the Mesolithic and early Neolithic Stone Age, about 10,000 to 6,000 years ago. Right off the bat, there are two places. So South Karelia refers to this greater area here of Finland. So if I zoom out of Finland, it's this southeastern part here. So this is the area that we're largely going to be talking about. This is what's under scrutiny here. And then Kuolimojarvi is here, this lake within South Karelia. So if I zoom out, if you see this little prick here, it's within the western part of South Karelia. So right there. Okay, moving on. In the early Stone Age, water levels in the small lakes located in the southern parts of what are today Lake Kuolimo and Saimaa were several meters below the present levels. So again, we see this pattern again, right? The water levels were lower back in the day, and now they're higher. And what's beneath all the stuff that got some? What's beneath the water that was once much more shallow? Well, they had the same question, and they decided to investigate it. After the period, the water level started rising as a result of uneven land, uplift, and the tilting of lakes and rivers. When I read this, I was thinking, what could have caused this? What could cause a tilting of lakes and rivers? A giant earthquake, a supervolcano, maybe, tsunami, a meteor or comet impact, right? Some sort of catastrophic thing happened that this became a result of the catastrophe. That's what I think. I'm not saying it's true, but that's what I think might be likely. Just because there's all the stuff that we talked about in North America and Canada. There was also an ice sheet in this area as well, so it would make sense. I mean, look at the map here. Look at all this water. So all this used to be a lot more shallow than it is now. I mean, all of Finland is pretty much either ice or water, and then there's some green in there. But especially South Karelia. Jeez, look at all that. Anyway, moving on. The rise in water levels ended with the outburst of River Vuoksi through the Saupaselka Ridge about 6,000 years ago, when water masses carved a new southeastern outflow channel towards Lake Ladoga. Okay, more names here. So the most important one is the Vuoksi River, which is right here. This river right here. So you can see it's in Russian territory now, but you can see it's to the southeast of South Karelia. And apparently this river burst, and all that water exited from the river into I'm guessing more south, and it probably emptied into the ocean. Okay, so with the rise in water levels, areas that were on dry land in the early Stone Age have been buried in the bottom of the lake and as littoral deposits. Okay, so if we look near the river, I guess a lot of these used to be dry land and are now, if there were people occupying this land, all their stuff is at the bottom now. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of the study. The aim of the 3-year study carried out by the University of Helsinki is to find traces of early Stone Age settlements underwater from wetlands at lakes Kuolimojarvi and Saimaa. Saimaa, by the way, is right here, right next to Kuolimo. So this huge area here is what they're looking at. Let's see what Satu Koivisto says, the head of the project. She says, this means that there is a huge gap in our archaeological knowledge of this particular area because we have not yet found the earliest Stone Age sites. Okay, so this is the early days of researching this place. This is really cutting edge because there is a huge gap in their knowledge. They don't know anything before this. It's only until now that they decided to look into this. So far, the oldest sites have been settled after the breakthrough of River Volxi. Again, they always mention this breakthrough. So ever since this, it's kind of like the Lake Missoula story in North America, if you don't know. In a nutshell, Lake Missoula was a glacial lake, and the glacial lake burst, and all the water came out and went through eastern Washington down into Oregon, all that water deposited. That theory's up for debate, but this River Volxi thing is kind of the same thing. I don't think it's a glacial lake though. It's just a river, and it was a way for the water to travel out because there's just too much. However, there's definitely been human habitation in this area for thousands of years before that, as is shown by the traces of settlements of more than 10,000 years old discovered at Kuolimojarvi, I don't know, in Jindo, further to the south. We have more cities. This is Kuolimojarvi. This is on the border of Finland and Russia, and there's Jindo right here. So these two places apparently they found some early human settlements here, which is interesting, very interesting. So that's their lead base. If you're an investigator and you're trying to find a lead, right, to plan ahead your next steps of your investigation. So those were their hints. Charcoal, burned rocks, and quartz flakes have been found at the site. So June 2018, this is a few months ago, not that long ago, archaeologists carried out underwater excavations and equipment testing at Kamarladi Bay and Savitaipali in cooperation with Nordic Maritime Group. Okay, so where's this place? Savit is near Kuolimo Bay. They started looking. That's where they searched. The work started with a thorough study of the lake bed, the purpose of which was to find archaeological remains by mapping the best preserved areas. So the western side of this bay was sheltered from wind and waves, and the prehistoric dry land areas are best preserved here. So that makes logical sense, right? The researchers were like, okay, where should we start? Oh, let's find the most untouched part of this bay, and let's just start from there. Let's search the bottom of the lake there. Sounds reasonable and logical, right? So let's go back. Let me show you where. Okay, so it was probably this they said the western part, so around here is where they're probably looking. Okay, so what did they find? They found a distinct layer of burned soil, charcoal, and burned rocks. Quartz flakes were also found in the surrounding test pits, and these remains show that quartz artifacts had been made at the site during the Stone Age. Alright, so anywhere, just as a rule of thumb, if you find anything burnt, like charcoal and rocks, it's probably some type of humanoid or hominin or whatever you want to call it, playing with fire, so to speak. It could be lightning, but I don't know. I don't think, I think if you were to look at, I think lightning has a sort of distinct look. Moving on, the hearth feature. When they say hearth feature, does this mean they found a hearth or what they deduced was a hearth at some point? And associated find materials indicate that a submerged Stone Age settlement site has now been located at Lake Kuolimojarvi, the first undisputed observation of this kind in Finland. So undisputed observation, that's something you don't see a lot. Everything's disputed. But it seems like at least the Finnish scientists have come to an agreement that this place was definitely a Stone Age settlement in the remote past. The nearest similar sites are located in northwestern Russia, which I showed you earlier, and southern parts of Scandinavia. It is clear that the hearth feature, which today lies at a depth of about 1 meter, and the other finds are from the period before the rise of the water level, about 9,000 to 8,000 years ago. Okay, the reason why they can come up with that date, 9,000 to 8,000 years ago, is because it's pretty much a smoking gun. 1 meter below the current sea level. They can deduce that the water level was lower back then. It's kind of like strata. If you dig deep enough and you find a bone, you can date that bone not just with radiocarbon dating, but you can use geological data of the strata and kind of deduce the date there. So here's an example. There's this thing called the black mat layer in North America, where if you dig deep enough, there's a uniform black mat all across the continent, and it all dates back to around 12,600 BC, something like that, around there, around that area, the end of the last ice age. And if you find something within that layer, then you can kind of guess the age of that thing. Okay, it's the same thing applies to water level. The archaeologists managed to take a soil sample of the burn layer around the hearth and are now trying to find datable material from it. So that's good. They took a soil sample and they're going to date it, and we're going to see just how old it is. Awesome. The excavation equipment tested in the underwater research at Kuolimojarvi, we may also be able to find other submerged sites at similar locations. For this reason, the discovery opens up an entirely new era in the research into the Finnish Stone Age. Good. All of this stuff, this effort is really paving the way for, like they said, probably a new field of study, at least in the Finnish Stone Age. And then once this is a firmly established avenue of research, they can probably compare it to other Stone Ages of other parts of the earth, and they can kind of cross-examine the data, and then another field will probably emerge from that. So this is all good news. This is all awesome. This means that a huge and largely untapped archaeological resource is hidden in Finnish lakes. Moreover, extremely old organic materials may also have been preserved in these environments for thousands of years. Absolutely. Largely untapped archaeological resource. I mean, let's go back to the map. Look at all this stuff, and no one has looked into this ever. There's got to be... It all started with an observation and some deduction and a little bit of, background info into the area, and they already found something. They had already found something. So, can you guys imagine what else would be in here? I mean, if I was a money guy and these researchers came up to me and they stated their case, I would throw them some money because it makes sense to me. It absolutely makes sense. And it's not just Finnish scientists talking about this. They're collaborating with a bunch of other scientists from other countries, and they are all saying the same thing. So I don't know. I don't think this would be all BS or anything like that. This seems like a legitimate lead to finding more information about that time period. The excavation sites were located in a preliminary study. Okay, this is really cool. They did preliminary work before this, and then they decided to select Kuolimojarvi for the underwater excavations. The most promising areas for the preservation of submerged sites were located already in a desk-based assessment, and a field survey was carried out in them in Lappeenranta. Yeah, Lappeenranta is another, right here. It's another city in South Karelia in 2015. And then from there, they built up to more detailed investigations that were carried out in 2017 and 2018 this year. And then they came to the conclusion that they should look there. So again, it's not like they're picking a random spot and they're deciding to excavate. They're slowly but surely, actually not really slowly. This is pretty fast. I mean, from 2015 to now, like this 3-year study, they found out a lot of stuff in a pretty short amount of time. But I guess my goal here with this episode is to show you the actual process, their thinking process, and how they get to the conclusions that they get to. It's very interesting. In the summer of 2017, so last year, peatland excavations were conducted while Kuolimojarvi was combed by divers. These investigations also produced clear evidence that in the early Stone Age, the level of Lake Kuolimojarvi was several meters below present level. So again, they have another data point, and they cross-examined it with what they found, with what the divers found in the lake, and they both came to the same conclusion that, there are definitely people here. And who knows how long they were there, but this is the remnants of their stuff, and there's probably more stuff, so we should probably look for more stuff. That's what's going on here. Here's a very interesting detail that I didn't highlight, but I thought was really cool. And it's this finding prompted experts to revise their previous assumptions of the history of the lake. So experts revised their previous assumptions. That never happens. Like if you look at Egyptology is a great example. The pyramids are a great example. When Robert Schoch redated the Sphinx and determined that the rainfall, the water erosion on the Sphinx dated it back 10,000 plus years ago, Egyptologists have not accepted it. They have not acknowledged it, and they've doubled down on their original dating. That to me is not scientific. That to me is they're just trying to protect their position in academia and save face because they don't want to be wrong in the public, in the eyes of the public. This right here is beautiful. The peatland excavations also revealed a distinct charcoal-rich layer, again charcoal, underneath the peat, which had been created as a result of human activity starting at the late Neolithic and extending to the Iron Age, so 2000 to 600 CE. 2000 BC to 600 CE. Divings carried out at Kamerladi revealed a small number of old wooden structures and signs of interesting areas that were selected for further underwater excavations in 2018. So again, they found wooden structures and signs. Okay. The 3-year archaeological project Lost Inland Landscapes of the University of Helsinki will be concluded at the end of the year. This is in many ways a multidisciplinary project, and cutting-edge technology has also been used in the planning of the field work and in the modeling of the previous stages of the lakes and underwater topography. An international reference group with members from Sweden, Germany, Denmark, Latvia, Russia, and Finland has been set up for the project. So again, look at all these international researchers coming together with new cutting-edge technology. I love that. I love that they're up to date. The group brings together archaeologists and geologists who are experts on similar environments and archaeological sites in the Baltic region. In this manner, the group promotes international cooperation in an archaeological sector that is extremely challenging but also important in terms of research. That's what science is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Not only are these a diverse group of scientists, they're all multidisciplinary. So you have some geologists, you have archaeologists, you probably have marine biologists in there, you probably have meteorologists, all these type of people coming together to get to the truth, ladies and gentlemen. What do you guys think about this? Tell me in the comments, please. Do you think this is all BS? Do you think their dating is off? Do you think do you think this is all publicity stunt, or is this legit? I mean, why would this be BS? I don't understand if someone were to make that argument, I don't know why they would think that. But just look at the map here. I mean, all the UK and Norway and even Iceland, all this was part of at one point was under a huge glacier, huge ice sheet, which I cannot remember the name. I know in North America and Canada there was the Laurentide ice sheet and the Cordilleran ice sheet, but then there was another one. For the life of me, I can't remember. Please forgive me. But it's gone now, and then you can see all this water here left over, all these lakes. And then guess what? You know where else there are lakes? Here in Canada, and the Great Lakes in North America. And then you have the Scablands in Washington and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think we're getting a lot closer to the truth. We're definitely way closer than we were 10, even 5 years ago. So I think this is interesting. I hope they find something super old, and again would throw the monkey wrench, just like Göbekli Tepe does, into the mainstream. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you later.